To welcome you to our evening board meeting on December 17th. We are going to start this meeting by, first of all, welcoming all our very special guests. This is a wonderful night. The open session of the board meeting will begin with a report on our closed session, including any action items. There weren't any, so we will now move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, I would like to ask someone from the audience, a very wonderful person who's a former board member, a drama teacher at McCullough. She also chaired the very first school bond issue in Los Alamitos and got it passed. I think it might have been the first in the state. So Don Artukovich, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Out of respect for the families and community in Wisconsin, we would like to take a moment of silence. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we'd like to take this moment to honor the victims, families, and communities affected by the recent events at Abundance Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin. Our thoughts are with the lives lost, the families affected, and the entire school community as they navigate this difficult and tragic time. As an educational community, we share in their sorrow and stand in support of the students, staff, and families during this difficult time. I now ask that we pause for a moment of silence as we reflect and give those impacted our thoughts and our prayers. Thank you. Thank you. Never like to have to do that. This afternoon we had a workshop. Mrs. Reed, would you like to give us a summary of our workshop?
Thank you so much, Mrs. Davidson. We were really honored earlier this evening to have McCullough Middle School community join us. Principal Eddie Quartermar shared the school's theme for the school year of Inside Out, shared that their focus on leading with love at McCullough Middle School, and that teachers really have an instructional focus this year of teaching with clarity. We also got to hear from two student leaders, Lucas and Eva, who were able to share their associated student body leadership journey in middle school with us, and then closed out this evening really honoring a wonderful volunteer at McCullough Middle School, Mrs. Jennifer Sanfransky, who has served this last school year as the PTA president of McCullough Middle School.
Thank you, Mrs. Reed. It was tremendous. The choir, they had brought a small string orchestra. The student leadership spoke. It was just a wonderful sense of community, and McCullough is an outstanding school. Now we are moving to a very special part of our evening, which is our organizational meeting. Dr. Pulver will be swearing in Chris Forhan, Fernaz Partizani, and Matt Bragman onto our Board of Education, and we are thrilled. Dr. Pulver, would you like to begin this?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Davidson. It would be my esteemed honor to be able to lead these three distinguished individuals to take their oath as they begin to either continue their role on the Board of Education for this amazing district or embark upon their role as a new board member for Los Alamitos Unified. I'm going to also hand you a copy that you will sign after you take the oath that we then also send to the Register of Voters. We'll see how talented we are. We might want to stand, and because our mics, hopefully the mic will be able to pick it up, but if not, maybe we'll hold our mic, or do you want to sit? Which would you guys prefer? All right, let's stand and just speak loud.
All right.
And put your microphone up. All right, so you'll repeat after me, and I'll do it in chunks to make it easy. Raise your right hand and follow after me. I state your name.
I, Chris Forhan,
Fernaz Partizani,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
You may now sign your oath of office, and we are all going to give a round of applause and congratulate you as you sign your oath of office.
So we'd like to give each of you an opportunity to thank your supporters and introduce your family. Chris, would you like to begin?
I would love to begin because I'd like to introduce my family that's here. I'm missing one grandson who has been sick with a horrible cough, and nobody wants to sit next to him at this meeting. So my son Joey and his wife Charlene are both teachers who are giving back as Joey's mother did and I did. And Liam's looking a little faded today, but as a fifth grader, he starred, in my opinion, in the Walk Through the Revolution event today. So thank you for both being here. 4 years ago, I ran on a platform of 4 important goals, as well as I ran as an experienced as a teacher, principal, and assistant superintendent. As a parent also of 2 children that went through the LaSalle system, and now 2 grandsons are now receiving outstanding education at, could be any of our schools, but specifically Lee and Oak. I'm happy to say I looked back on what I said and have kept those goals as priority. Once elected, I mapped out a plan of being in every classroom, knowing and acknowledging staff for all the work they do to make a difference for all our kids. And I must say the bonus of these past 4 years was getting to know the kids we work with, their energy, their passion, their kindness, their gratitude, their incredible expertise in technology, as well as everything else, and most of all, their spirit. I have taken the time to understand every aspect of who and how we make a difference. I have served lunch at every school site, talked and celebrated what our maintenance, custodial, transportation, human resources, business services, and ed services departments do that greatly support what goes on in the classroom. I learned all about our special needs population and the incredible staff that makes a difference for them every single day. I've read aloud to kids, taught them art, enjoyed many productions and sporting events. I often can't believe the support we receive from our PTAs, our friends of school groups, as well as our incredible foundation. And the fundraising efforts just plain make a difference. I have seen the magic the teaching staff does each and every day, and having been a teacher, a principal, a director, and an assistant superintendent, I remain in awe as to what they do each and every day. Yes, the 4 A's are alive and well in our school district. I have also practiced that although I was elected by the residents in Trustee Area 2, I have a commitment to make a difference for all 5 trustee areas. Additionally, I'm serving as a director on the Los Alamitos Youth Center board, and I represent our board on the Special Ed Board, SELPA, all which has broadened my knowledge and involvement in community programs and organizations that make a difference for kids and families. Thank you to the residents of Trustee Area 2 for not opposing my reelection and for trusting that I can do this and more for 4 more years, and I promise I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Fernaz?
Turn on my mic? Yes. Thank you, Chris. Okay, well, thank you, Madam Board President. And I'm honored and excited to serve the Los Alamitos community as your new trustee. You know, over the past decade, I have served and really dedicated my time and to the betterment of our kids through the different volunteer and board positions that I've taken. And I'm really excited and eager to expand that as part of serving on the board right now and continue into making an impact. You know, the support and encouragement that I've received from the parents, the teachers, and the students, those students who've walked for me, you guys know who you are, has been truly heartwarming and a testament to the greatness of our community. To my wonderful kids that are here, Ella, Raya, and Landon, thank you for sharing your mom with the community. And to my wonderful husband, you know, my #1 fan, and the best partner that I could ask for. My dad is here, and, you know, that is really special to me, so thank you. I also have my in-laws in the crowd, and so thank you. Thank you for being here. You know, I'll end with this. At its heart, the word trustee means holding trust. So to the Los Al community, Trustee Area 4, that voted for me, I am committed to honoring that trust by continuing the work that I've been doing, but really expanding it to ensure that the best possible future for our children. So thank you for trusting in me to do the job, and I will do right by it. Thank you.
Thank you, Fernaz. Thank you, Fernaz. Matt?
Thank you, Board President, Ms. Davidson. What an honor it is to sit here among such amazing leaders in a truly extraordinary district. While I was elected by the voters of Trustee Area 5, I'm excited to be on this board not as a representative of only those who voted for me, but for the entire community we serve here in Los Alamitos Unified School District. I hold this responsibility of this role in the highest regard and look forward to serving our students, families, staff, and school community to the best of my ability each and every day. First, I want to take a moment to thank my family who are here with me today. Melissa and Molly, you're my cheerleaders. Wow, I don't usually get shaken up. This is weird. You're my cheerleaders, my champions, and my greatest teammates. You inspire me daily to be the best version of myself. I'm so humbled by your unwavering support and love. Having you by my side through all of life's adventures means everything to me. I also want to thank my mom, who flew in for today's meeting. Mom, you've been a public school counselor for over 40 years, and your career is always centered on the well-being of students. Your compassion and dedication have shaped who I am and the values I hold as an educator and now as a board member. You've taught me always to put my students first, and I promise to carry that lesson with me in every decision I make. I don't see Meg here. Is Meg here? Maybe Meg's here in spirit. Well, I'd also like to take a moment to recognize and honor the leadership of Meg Catulli, who has paved the way for me to step into this role. Meg has served this district as a board member for over 24 years, and her impact is immeasurable. The foundation she built is one of strength, vision, and care, and it's a privilege to follow in her footsteps. Meg's experience and leadership have a legacy that will inspire us for years, and I'm deeply grateful for her support, her friendship, and everything else she's done for me as I take on this new responsibility. To the incredible community members who supported my journey to the seat, thank you. There are a lot of you out there. Your belief in me has been both humbling and inspiring. From family and friends to neighbors, teachers, staff, past board members, and community members across our district and beyond, you've been my source of strength and encouragement. I could not have done this without you. I carry your hopes and your expectations with me, and I promise to serve with integrity, dedication, and heart. Finally, to my fellow board members, district staff, all the administrators out there, I did not know you would all be here today, and the families and students of Los Alamitos Unified, thank you for welcoming me. I'm here to listen, to learn, and to lead collaboratively. Together, we will continue the work of making our schools not just places of academic excellence, but also places where every student feels safe, valued, and inspired to achieve to their full potential. I'm eager to roll up my sleeves and get to work. Thank you all for this incredible opportunity to serve our community. I look forward to working alongside each of you to ensure the continued success of our district in our bright future. Thank you.
We thank the three of you. Obviously, only a fool would have run against Chris, so would not have been too productive. But Madam Fernaz, over the last few months, I've gotten to know you and work with you and listen to you and see the way that you respond and treat people. I know, I speak for myself, but I know my fellow board members we're so thrilled to have you on the board and to have a parent voice. With Matt, with Molly, Fernaz, with your three beautiful children at 3 different levels, you'll bring a perspective that will only add to the good work that we're doing. And I can tell you that my husband Stan is sitting out there. He will tell you that there was quite a little dance that I did when it was confirmed and I knew that you were going to be part of our board. So speaking personally, I'm very thrilled. Thank you.
I am equally thrilled to have you all, Chris, you back, Matt and Fernaj, on our board, because I think that we have an incredible wealth of knowledge and balance all coming together. And I see the wonderful work I know you've done in the community, as well as Matt, what you've given back, and Papa, you're just Papa. So, but we are. It makes a great difference, and so we're very, very thrilled to have you. Thank you very much.
And before I go to Dr. Pulver, I do want to issue a disclaimer. For Naz and Matt, you do not have to walk in Chris's shoes. You do. I don't know how he does what he does, but we're deeply appreciative because he's not only a board member, he's an ambassador, he's a counselor, he's a family member to the whole community. So we're very fortunate to have you, Dr. And a medal giver. Yes, that was yes. Dr. Pulver, did you?
Yes, I just am so fortunate to be able to work on behalf of an amazing board who continue to show vision, to show leadership, who are committed to doing the right things for students, for staff, and ultimately this community. This is a really special community that we support, that we get to nurture and partner with our families to really create unlimited opportunities for our kids, and to have a board who's really committed to that and who is always committed to wanting to make sure they do right by one another as well. And for this community. So I look forward to working with each and every one of you. And as Mrs. Davidson shared, I do think that we are all really excited as well to add another layer of a voice to our board with people who have current kids in our district, because I think that's a really important voice that is celebrated to be added on this Board of Education. So welcome, and I look forward to working with all of you.
And now we're going to move on to the election of our officers for 2025 president and vice president. They will preside over all board meetings and workshops conducted in the year 2025. Do I have any nominations for president?
I would like to nominate Mrs. Morris Davidson to be our next Madam President.
Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? I abstain. I believe in myself, but I abstain. So the vote is 4 in favor, 1 abstaining. And now we are going to elect our vice president. Do I have a nomination?
Yes, I move that Diana Hill serve as our vice president.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Do we have any discussion? I'll say that I'm thrilled. She's going to keep me on the straight and narrow here, so I'm very appreciative. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain as well.
Okay, the vote is 4 in favor and 1 abstention. So that concludes our election of officers. And now we are going to vote on designation of dates, times, and location of the regular Board of Education meetings and workshops sessions during 2025. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? I'll second. Okay. Is there a discussion?
Yes. Just quickly, I would like to just make a statement that it's really important to us that we do the business of the district in this room, and that we do the business of this district, and the community knows when it's going to happen and how it's going to happen. And so all of our dates are put long ahead of time. We really try very hard never to change a date. Occasionally it's had to happen, but we really try to keep to our schedule. And also we really want to also make sure that we have, we have other regular workshops for is the ability to come together and have a more casual discussion about something that may be coming to the board, as well as some of our celebrations that we do with all of our schools. And so I just am very appreciative of staff for making sure that this schedule really aligns well with the rest of our master calendar and everything that we have to do and approve. And so I just want to explain that a little bit.
Thank you. Anyone else have any? Okay.
I would just like to remind the public that these board meeting dates are not a surprise. We actually brought them forward in draft form for the Board of Education to approve. Either it was August or September, so that people had vast notice of when our 2025 Board of Education meetings are. This will be reaffirmed tonight after you take this vote as part of our organizational meeting. In addition, just a reminder, for the most part, we meet once a month as a Board of Education. Traditionally, our workshops begin around 4 o'clock. They can begin as early as 3:45 or 3:30, and then the other portion of the meeting starts at 6 p.m. The month of July, we do go dark. We don't have any meetings in July, as you'll notice that on the schedule. So I'll turn it back to you, Mrs. President.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. It's a 5-0 vote in favor of the calendar. Thank you. And we have, in our workshop, we moved the recess to a little bit later in the meeting. So we are going to now do our reports, recognitions, and we are going to start with a part that is pure joy and a highlight for all of us, Joseph's student report. So thank you, Joseph. We're excited to hear what you're going to share with us.
Good evening, Madam President Davidson, esteemed board members, including our new board members, Mr. Bragman and Ms. Partisani, Dr. Pulver, and any community members watching in person or online, and present supporters. My name is Joseph Claypool, and I'm your student representative to the Board of Education for Los Alamitos High School. This year, the administrative student body of our high school, or ASB, has started to make trips to all of our district's great elementary schools. So far, we have visited Hopkinton, Lee, and Rossmore Elementary. At each school, ASB has the goal of teaching what ASB is all about and all the important activities they are committed to at the high school. During the presentation ASB gave, each person was able to share their job they have on ASB and the responsibilities that come with their job. I even got to explain my job and the honor it is to represent the student body. We broke down the process to get into ASB at the high school and recommended joining the leadership/ASB classes both McAuliffe and Oak have to offer. We collaboratively discussed the similarities between the responsibilities of ASB and the responsibilities of students and leadership at each of the elementary schools. After the presentation, both ASB and the elementary schoolers were divided into 3 groups. One focused on school spirit, one focused on dress-out days and lunchtime activities, and one focused on the assemblies we host in our gym. The kids got to rotate between each group and ask whatever questions they had about each ASB topic. The hope is to open the students' minds to the different ways students can be connected on their campus, and to also give them some excitement about becoming a Griffin. Then came the best part. ASB spirit leaders were able to show off our famous roller coaster moves, teaching the elementary schoolers each move step by step. Overall, it was a great experience. Not only did we get to work with the elementary school students, but many of us were able to take a step back into the elementary schools we attended, reminiscing on our journey through the district. One of the largest academic clubs on campus with over 50 members is MUN, also known as Model United Nations. In MUN, students role-play delegates to the United Nations, simulate committees, and learn about diplomacy, international relations, current world issues, and the UN itself. The MUN club at Los Al is overseen by Ms. Kiptia. However, she credits the club's success largely to the student board with Lucas Beltran and Caitlin Maddie as acting presidents. The main challenge with MUN is that it is a club on campus, not an academic class, which means that everything must be done outside of school hours. Each year, the club travels to 2 national conferences, one at NYU and one at UC Berkeley, where selected club members must impersonate a representative from a country and speak about diverse topics or issues their country partakes in. MUN also has regional conferences, with one being hosted here at Los Al in February. Their most recent conference, the Condor MUN Conference at Cal High School in Whittier, the high school MUN team competed with their junior MUN team from Oak to win the top award of Best Delegates. Before each conference, it is very important that each speaker researches the topic they will present in their debate against other students. Not only do students find themselves improving their debate and presentation skills in MUN, but they also find a close-knit family of classmates in the club. Our high school boys basketball team isn't afraid of challenges. The team has the second hardest ranked schedule in the state of California. With a handful of returning players and the student sections packed with excitement, the Griffins are ready to take on the tough challenge. The strength of the team has been built up for countless years, even before high school. Many of the players on the team have been playing with each other since their time in elementary schools. The time these players have spent together allows the players to not only see each other as teammates, but also friends. The camaraderie that exists within the team is responsible for the chemistry that exists in the squad. This chemistry, instilled through the players' friendships, has boosted the Griffins as the top-ranked public high school in Orange County. Part of the team's success is because of Coach Berger's strategy in preparing the players for the conditioning, physicality, and mental toughness basketball requires. He's truly proud of his players and his team, but is working hard to help them improve as the season progresses. I'm sure that he constantly wishes to sub himself into the game and play. Outside of the team, ASB makes sure to advertise each basketball game of the season by putting up posters on campus and deciding the theme behind each game. In the game versus Corona Centennial, the theme was Blue Out, which you can tell by the pictures in my slide when the student section rushed onto the court after the Griffins won at the last second. There are still many more games in the season, and I promise you, you do not want to miss them. Time to dive into a world of smooth riffs, unpredictable solos, and rhythms that will make you question if your foot has a mind of its own. The Winter Jazz Concert. Last Wednesday, all 3 levels of the high school's jazz band performed winter-themed songs such as Let It Snow. Usually the performers can be found wearing all-black professional attire. However, for this concert, the students brought the holiday spirit by all wearing Santa hats for the last song. On top of this, magical synthetic snow mystified the audience during the grand finale, which cultivated the true feelings of holiday spirit. The entire band has been preparing for the concert since mid-November and had been practicing their pieces in class collectively every day. Every Thursday in class, however, the band splits up to practice in what is called sectionals, where groups are separated by instrument. Along with the instructions of Mr. Padilla, the jazz program has hired coaches that specialize in specific instruments in order to fine-tune the students' musicians to perfection. Like with any specialized craft, in order to master it, students practice their pieces almost every day at home as well. It's that time of year again. The sound of Christmas music on the radio, sunsets that are way too early, and of course, every student's favorite, final exams. With so much excitement at the end of the calendar year, final exams are similar to the fruitcake of holiday treats. Final exams are a yearly tradition where every class at the end of each semester has an exam that encapsulates all the material covered during the semester. Finals are a challenge since students have to manage their time in studying for not only just one class, but multiple. Although final exams cause difficulty, there are numerous tools for students to use in order to prepare for their exams. The first tool that comes to mind are the office hours and study sessions teachers have for finals, where they can answer any questions and review problems with students. In class, during finals week, teachers usually develop study guides as well for students, which if studied correctly, prepare students for success on the final. More specifically, Link Crew hosted a Cocoa and Cram event, where freshmen were invited for hot chocolate and a free space to study for finals in the lecture hall. The event was a great success, and instead of completely stressing about finals, it gave students an opportunity to smile and relax with friends while still being productive. That brings me to my next point. Students love to create study groups and review together at spots not only in school, but also outside of school, like at the local Panera Bread or Starbucks. Despite all this, the number one factor students must consider when studying, and my mother tells me this all the time, is to sleep. With all of these ingredients, the Griffins will bring the hammer and crush their final exams and soon enjoy their much-deserved Christmas break. Lastly, let me introduce to you a Griffin who excels in every aspect you can think of, Olivia Inanaga. Olivia began her time in our district as a Weaver Whale, then an Oak Lion, and now a Griffin. She is an integral part of the high school's advanced dance program, a part of the elections committee for ASB, and a member of National Honor Society and the high school's Teens for Climate Club. Dance is a core part of who Olivia is. She shared how dance has allowed her to express herself and constantly learn new moves from her peers. In the classroom, Olivia is a stellar student, having taken challenging classes such as AP Calculus and AP Chemistry. Outside of the classroom, she has her own coffee business, which is linked through her church in order to give back to the community. From the holiday drinks she sells to the regular lattes, Olivia donates all the proceeds back to the church. With her business and philanthropic personality, she hopes to inspire a new sense of entrepreneurship on campus. After high school, Olivia hopes to study sociology at Duke University. No matter where she ends up, Olivia will always remember her experience at OSS in 5th grade, since she was able to be in nature with her classmates while growing closer to them. It is ultimately, for me, however, Olivia's warm, friendly personality that speaks out to not only me, but anyone that knows her, making her an excellent Los Alamitos Griffin. With that, I would like to open the floor to any questions or comments from the board.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So our regular basketball season league has not started yet, right? These are like preseason games. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so, but they still matter for the team.
I have to find myself a schedule, but I do kind of remember that leagues started after the holiday.
Yes, that's correct. It's
Thank
a
you.
different schedule this year with some of the sports, but I think that's
Okay.
still applicable.
Well, thank you for that input. Good to know.
Problem.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So Joseph, you do an excellent job of covering so many different arenas and parts of the school and activities. How do you go about doing that? Are you interviewing friends? Are you getting to the activities? How do you do this?
That's a great question. So partially, yes, it is just me going around asking, hey, like what's going on? What would you maybe like for me to highlight in this? What have you found interesting in the past month? So it is kind of just asking people what's been going on campus, because I don't see everything that goes on. So I do have to ask people, and then eventually, collaboratively, I come up with things to present.
Thank you. Thank you. You do an excellent job. Thanks, Joseph. Our next report will be, oh no, go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
I just briefly, I met you, Joseph, a few board meetings ago, and I'm just so thankful you're here. To have a student representative like you is, we've all kind of talked about having students at the center of everything, and you are a voice that reaches the high school and down. And so having you as that voice is awesome. To hear about the exciting things happening at the high school, it's so cool. I've gone back to schools and told them about the 130 clubs you all have and everything else. So we look forward to continuing to hear from you and learn from you. And I know I already put pressure on you, because the first time I met you, I was asking where you're going to college. So I can't wait to hear that news soon. But thank you again for sharing. It's awesome.
Of course. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Joseph. So our next report is the superintendent's report. Dr. Pulver.
Thank you, Madam President. Good to say that right now, officially. I know we were all kind of, do we say it yet? She's acting as the vice president earlier, but thank you, Madam President. esteemed members of the board, it's my pleasure to, highlight today, but my report every month. But before I do, I'd like to give a shout out. When I saw her out in the audience, I thought it'd be important. Two quick shout outs. One, we have representatives from our North Orange County ROP tonight, who is part of our consortium. If you'll just wave, we want to say welcome. We love having you at our board meeting. So thank you for that. And then also we got to recognize our District Administrator of the Year last week, and we will be surprising 3 classified employees of the year later this week, so I'm not at liberty to share who they are. But our Administrator of the Year is our very own Ms. Cara Vienna, Assistant Principal at Los Alamitos High School. So obviously we'll do more formal recognitions and share outs of why she is so worthy of such that distinguished award, but I wanted to congratulate her once again. As I was really thinking about what to talk about for tonight, I was taken back last Friday, I think it was Friday, our high school show choir students under the direction of David Molenkamp and Moana Derlin, our students perform for the Chamber of Commerce Breakfast, Los Alamitos Chamber of Commerce Breakfast. And every year, it's one of the highlights for the chamber. It's probably one of their most crowdest, if that's even a word, the largest attendance that they have at their chamber breakfast. And it's because our students do such an amazing job at their performance. And it made me really think, because what I often say is, as this district, we are such a special district. We are so fortunate to be able to live in a community who really rallies behind its youth. As I've shared numerous times, we are the lowest funded school district in Orange County, and yet our results are second and first place in the county. And that's largely because we have so many parents and businesses and community members who come together to support our youth. And I was at the Chamber of Commerce breakfast, and as I'm walking back to the car and really reflecting on this, I couldn't help but to think in how many ways that actually our kids give back to this community. We always talk about how this community gives to our kids, but I really think it's this symbiotic relationship of, we are so fortunate that it's almost like we're community schools, that our students continue to be woven directly into this community, and this community asks for our students to be performing, to do acts of service, and so many different things in many different ways. And I think that really is something unique, is about the exceptional giving nature of our students. Our families, our parents raise amazing kids. And that this district is such a great place, but it's exciting for me to see that our kids are woven into the fabric of this community as well. The giving nature of our families create a ripple effect that really, when we talk about one of our core values as a district, is a culture of kindness. And I think that there's so many ways that just was eminent in this, whether it be through our acts, through our arts, and there are a myriad of community organizations that are asking our students to perform for them. And just recently, obviously, and I'll have some pictures in a little bit, but at the Winter Wonderland, which is through the city of Los Alamitos, I think many of our choirs performed. Some of the Oak or middle school bands performed. At the Seal Beach Parade, our high school color guard, band, and different grade level performances all parading through the parade. We have the Seal Beach Women's Club, who's asking, I believe it's McCullough students who are going to go perform, or no, I'm sorry, it's the high school band that's going to perform at the Seal Beach Women's Club shortly for them. The city chamber asked our students to have some carolers come together, and it just reminds me of how much that our kids give. As much as this community gives to our kids, it's really what our kids and our families give back. And then I was starting to think, it's just this ongoing ripple effect. My mind goes in a lot of places, just all walking to the car. It's a good thing it was a little bit of a long walk. But about the acts of service that our students do, whether it be through volunteering, but really it's about how they rally together along with their families and along with our students and staff to support those in need. And so many of our schools, through their PTAs or through students or through drives within their houses at Rossmore, or through drives within their classrooms. I know like Rossmore has donated over 700 pounds of food for We Care. Seal Beach and has McGaw has partnered with Seal Beach Police to really help sponsor families. I know our PTAs at various school sites find ways to help students in need, and it's just this constant giving of culture that I think really makes LaSalle a special place to see that our kids are involved. And so here's just some highlights of, as I shared, our students performing at the Los Alamitos Chamber of Commerce. We had our color guard and our high school band and many others, to just name a few, parading down the Seal Beach parade. As I shared, our Winter Wonderland, our groups, our students' performances are constantly being asked by this community to come out and to perform for them. And it's a great opportunity for our kids, for our parents to see their kids up on the stage, but it really is a great opportunity for this community to see how lively and how talented and how gifted in the 4As that our students are. And then it made me really think it keeps going. Our softball team and our athletics, our girls softball team, every single year, and it's probably unsung. They don't even, many of you may not even know this, but they collect hundreds of gifts for families in need, and then they go and compliments to our coach Rob Wheel, who helps organize this as well, and his entire coaching team to go and help support families in need at the holiday season. And these are some of our softball girls. They're wrapping the gifts, they're out purchasing them, and they go and hand deliver them as well. Here's a great club that if you haven't heard about, at Los Alamitos High School, we have a Women in Medicine Club, and they were really, and that's the picture on the left where you see in the living room there, and they were collecting donations and presents and wrapping them and bringing them for students, for individuals at Orange County Chalk Hospital, and what a great gift for women in medicine who want to help support our kids, or not our kids, just kids in general who are in the hospital at the holiday season. And another great club at Los Alamitos High School, it's the Kindness Club, who donated over 1,800 items and 2,000 pounds of food for food finders. And, it just made me think about, sometimes we always talk about how much this community gives back to our kids. And I was just so reflective this last time about how our community gives back, how our kids give back to the community. And here's just some of the ones that I had mentioned earlier, that with Seal Beach McGaw partnering with the police department and Target and Rossmore's food drive. And, the Huskies, these are just samples, helping the Seal Beach animal shelter in Mary. And this is the 5th grade or the leadership team at our Huskies. And then every year, our Interact students at Los Alamitos High School donates, I want to say last year, I think it was almost over $10,000, and our local Rotary Club helps support them to some degree, but that's largely our students who donate almost over $10,000 to support families in need within our district and to support in We Care. And so it just made me really think that this is just an amazing community, and just to see that symbiotic relationship between the community and our kids giving back. So I was really proud to be a superintendent in this amazing district and community, and I couldn't think of a finer group of kids than here in Los Alamitos. And with that, we want to just share, we did get to be able to share a little holiday spirit, and nothing says holidays like maybe some Mrs. Fields cookies or treats. And so from the Board of Education and from administration, we were able to deliver baskets of cookies to our staff last week with just to express a little bit of gratitude as we get ready. But really, I think ultimately, from our family to all of our district families in this community, we want to wish all of you whatever holidays or myriad of holidays that you celebrate at this time of the year. We want to wish you a wonderful holiday season. May it be filled with joy and blessings and love from those, surrounded by those you love, and may you come into a wonderful new year. So looking forward to 2025. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Pulver. And now, yes, thank you. Now we're going to move to board communication. And Mrs. Hill, would you like to begin?
Certainly, I will be very short, but one of the things I wanted just to talk about a little bit is that we had an opportunity to go as a group to a conference, the CSBA, the School Boards Association Conference. And really the idea is that we have an opportunity to really build a team. Because on this board, we're a team. It's not one person driving. It's not one person making decisions. It's the team. It's the collective. And so I think that's a really important thing that we get an opportunity to do. And it really aligns with one of our core values, which is really responsibility, because we really look at the responsibility that we have as school board trustees. And so that was wonderful. And then Dr. Pulver, you and I have just been like symbiotic today, because I was going to talk about the Winter Wonderland and the parade and our students performing at those things, and how that's really our goal number 3, really connecting our school community with our bigger community. And so our students just do an amazing job. And I know their parents are so crazy and busy and rushing them to 45 places all at one time, but it's joyful, and I love that our communities of Seal Beach, Rossmore, and LaSalle are always very inclusive of us and of the district. And I also had an opportunity to do some reading about our Junior United Model United Nations. Thank you. And you saw how the Model United Nations gets the opportunity to go and really compete at a very high level. But now they're also going down, much like Joseph, I just found out, ASB is doing a similar thing, going down to our middle schools and really starting to connect those kids and get them excited before they get to the high school level, and build that pathway for them. And I think that's so very important, because there's nothing that says success at the high school like being connected. My voice all of a sudden changed, but that's okay. I got connected, I guess. I didn't touch it. It's been on the whole time. But I also think that's, once again, that's one of those things in our goal number 1, that really we connect and want those opportunities for our students to not only academically thrive, but also thrive in various ways that makes them excited about being in school. And I do have one little sad piece of news, and then we'll move on, hopefully, to some more joy. There was a Griffin grad of 2014, Connor Lees, and there will be a candlelight vigil for him down on Seal Beach, north side of the pier, I believe, on Sunday afternoon. He was one of our first responders, a firefighter, but he has been missing from a free dive. And I just really, our grads always remain our students. And so when I got that information, I just wanted to make sure that I shared it with the greater public that may know the Lees family, and they certainly need our love and our support at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Mr. Forehand?
Yes, if you're symbiotic with him, I'm equally symbiotic with you two, because I was going to just say that over the past month, every production, every club I went to, every orchestra program, sporting event, everything, and the only one you missed is the National League of Young Men assembled 42 bikes last Sunday for children of need. But all of these events, I always drive home saying, just says that our kids will make the world a better place. They're going to be a kinder world, a more caring world, a more peaceful place to live. So I salute them. And then lastly, Marlis and I had the chance to attend the brain celebration at LAE, and I know the kids at Weaver are participating as well. These are fifth graders that are budding up with kids that have autism. And I can't think, they learn all about autism. They participate in events with the autistic kids, but I can't think of a better way that we're teaching our kids acceptance and all about diversity. So that's my report tonight, and we'll compare notes next time and make sure we don't do that.
Thank you, Chris. Matt, would you like to share?
Yeah, thank you. I didn't do well in biology, but symbiosis might be the theme of the night. I think that's biology. So you'll hear some of the things you've already heard. But the past few weeks as I've ramped up to begin my service on the board have been filled with educational experiences, exciting events, and joyful celebrations. It's a fun time to come onto the board with events every day. Oh, I know we couldn't keep up, but we're trying our best, and we'll be more of them next year. During the week of December 2nd, I had the opportunity to attend the CSBA conference in Anaheim. It was an enlightening experience, beginning with the new board member orientation that I was able to attend with board member Partisani and President Davidson. The conference offered a wealth of learning experiences and opportunities with sessions going over best practices in governance, the fun and always evolving role of AI in education, critical issues facing schools, and much more. Beyond the sessions, the conference really was an awesome and productive time to have conversations in collaboration with you, Dr. Pulver, the entire board, to get to know you better, and the executive cabinet. So I really appreciate that opportunity. Can't wait to go again next year. I've been thoroughly impressed by the outstanding performances at events across our district these past few weeks. It's been a joy to see firsthand the talent, hard work, and community spirit that make our district so special. I know some of these things have been mentioned, but they're worth calling out again. The Seal Beach Christmas Parade was unbelievable. We had incredible performances by our color guard, marching band, dance team. Our transportation services ran a bus down the middle of Main Street, along with enthusiastic participation by Weaver Elementary and our principal Schmidt, and hundreds of talented students from across the district representing Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Pony, you name it. Our kids were everywhere. At McGaw, selfishly, I was at the 4th and 5th grade concert and got to see over 100 students participating in an amazing holiday performance, singing songs across all different kinds of genres and celebrations. The high school's holiday choir show was truly spectacular, whisking the audience away to a extravaganza-lorious Holidayland. That was hard to say. They even brought out the Los Alamitos Chamber of Commerce last week. It was really cool to see that again. To see it, wow, and to see the Disney medley again, which I know is my wife's favorite, was special as they surrounded us with all different versions of songs about flight. And I know she was already called out again, but it was amazing to join in the celebration last week of Caraviana, our Administrator of the Year. You're amazing. You were great. It was fun to celebrate you. Your spirit, I think, lit up the room and the house. And then finally on Sunday, I was fortunate to attend the Seal Beach annual menorah lighting, which was a wonderful celebration of the Festival of Lights. We had so many students, families, and community members from Seal Beach, Long Beach, Rossmore, all over. The Chabad of Los Al hosts this event each year, and it was really heartwarming to be able to be there and get called up and speak briefly. So as we approach winter break, I look forward to continuing the holiday celebrations. I cannot wait to visit the 9 schools. I know I visited a few of you already, just kind of informally over the past few years even, but to be able to do it in this capacity is going to be exciting and fun. I can't wait to meet you all, more of the principals, students, and I know we're heading into break. So for students that are in here, I hope you get a good break. You're finishing finals and getting ready. I'm getting smiles and nods from my own daughter again. But I thank you for this incredible start. It's so exciting to be on the board. I can't wait for all the things that are to come.
Naz?
Well, so there's no doubt that there are a lot of amazing things going on in our district. And, we are very symbiotic because we're a small community. So, we've all attended the parade, the choir show, the amazing talent that our kids put on. So kudos to the kids. Know that for the ones that I was there, I was honored to be there and watch you do your thing. But what I'd like to do for my board updates going forward is I'd like to focus on insights that I've gleaned from the last meeting. And if possible, I want to tie it back to our goals and our vision for the district. So for me, the California State Board Association was a great immersion to this role. It was a 2-day training conference with board members from across the state, incredibly informative background. But what I really thought was important is the opportunity to learn from other leading districts in our state. So I want to share 3 key takeaways that I had. One, a common theme in the workshop was this shift in mindsets around artificial intelligence and how we need to embrace it as a thought partner. I believe that we're already on our way and we're doing that in this district, which is, again, when I go to these seminars and workshops and I hear what other leading districts are doing, it's so affirming because it just proves to us that we are on the right track, and we're doing a lot of those things. Some of those districts shared how they're using AI to solve challenges like the chronic absenteeism, school safety. They also talked about establishing clear policies for students on how to use AI effectively. So it's more just moving away from this mindset that it's cheating, but really helping our students use it as a thought partner. Second takeaway was around communication and engagement at all levels, and is key to success. We know that, we do that, but again, such a great iteration of creating a platform for two-way communication. I think we're really excellent about how much we communicate and different platforms that we communicate, and perhaps there's opportunity to learn about how to create a two-way platform so we can get feedback more seamlessly from our constituents. Mental health matters was the third and one of the largest key takeaways. We had a guest speaker, Dr. Lori Santos, who is a Yale professor and a creator of the science of well-being. She's actually the most popular professor at Yale. And she highlighted how prioritizing mental health boosts creativity, productivity, and long-term success. Again, I feel like we're at the forefront of that in LaSalle. But one of the things that she highlighted are some insights centered on the negative impact of the overuse of cell phones, especially during instruction, and social media, and how that's really negatively impacted our youth. And I know we're looking at a lot of research around that, and I'm excited to bring that to the board. So really, at the core of it, that's kind of how I would like to report out to you. I look forward to opportunities for upcoming learnings and how we can integrate that into what we already do as the district. So thank you.
Thank you, Farnaz. I'm going to keep it brief, but first of all, yes, thank you. I would like everybody to turn around and look at the back row, the back two rows. Just turn around and look at the back row. So we have been talking about all the activities. You don't have to look at them anymore. So these are our administrators, our directors, are the heart of the district. And we've been talking about all the activities tonight that have gone on. Joseph, you did such a fabulous job. And all of us try and make it to as many as we can and get exhausted but elated. But what I have to say is that at every event, you have an administrator. You have, Kara, you are a fabulous choice. You are symbolic of everyone that's sitting beside you because you guys give heart and soul early in the morning until late at night, not 5 days a week. We know you go far beyond that. And because of your leadership and because of your self-sacrifice and whatever roles you play in the district, our district is an anomaly. We are completely different than a lot of districts around the state. We are a family, we're a community, and people are giving far beyond what normally is expected of someone in your role. And please know, we take note of that. We take it to heart. And if I could clone each one of you so that there could be 5 of you and one of you could stay home, we would do it. And so all of those activities that we have talked about, the choir, Thanksgiving came so close to the end of the month that I was not really ready for the holidays. But the minute I stepped onto any one of the campuses or at the chamber breakfast and heard that music, my heart was lifted. And that's because of the programs that are provided, the support of our community and our families, and because our children are deeply engaged in celebrating what opportunities are there for them. And Farnaz talked about the conference, and what I can say about that is one of the conferences that I've been to since I came on the board, one particular session stuck with me more than another, and it was a neuroscientist from Berkeley who talked about the damage of too much screen time. And she talked about they literally are doing studies and finding out that a part of the brain is not developing in children that are on screens too long. The part of the brain is linked with empathy. And how terrifying to have a world of people that lacked empathy. But what I want to say in contrast to that is if you looked at every single activity, everything that was shared, the altruistic actions, the generosity, the helping each other, the building up, the mental health, all of it that our staff, our families, and our students are doing together, that's empathy. They are actively learning how it is to feel and care about another person. And for all of the academics, which believe me, I strongly uphold building academics. As was mentioned, that happens when our kids feel mentally healthy and connected. So I have to applaud our administrators at every site, our directors, everyone engaged in the work of this district that enables our children, your parents, booster clubs, enables our children to do these great activities and learn about the best parts of life. And I really, truly celebrate that. And I wanted to also share that at the Brain Buddies, I was at Weaver and then today at LAE. That was just amazing to me because these older students partner with us, a younger student from the autism program, and what every student got up and talked about their little buddy and what it meant and what they learned from that experience and how they carry that experience with them and when they talked about the best moment they had with that child, it wasn't something different or unique. It was a celebration of two people who cared about each other. And to have students learn that, have the opportunity to be exposed to that, and have it build over years is the most powerful act of love that I think we can give. So I'm just so incredibly proud to be part of this district. And as we approach the holidays, I just want to say thank you to every single person out there that gives your heart and soul to making this community uniquely special. And I also, before I close, have to say welcome to my ROP guests, because I spent last week at one of your board meetings learning about all that you are teaching and providing for students across North Orange County. And I'm excited to learn more, and I'm excited to share with this community what you're doing. So I wish you all a very wonderful holiday. I thank all the administrators, directors, workers, employees, and say, please have school amnesia. Go home and celebrate time with your family. Thank you. Now we are going to go to recess, and this will give us an opportunity for our new board members to take pictures with their families and friends. So please don't go anywhere if you're part of that. And otherwise, we'd love to talk with all of you. We will come back together shortly. We are going to now resume our meeting after a recess, and we are going to go to community comments, public comments, and our first speaker will be, oh, sorry, I have to read something first, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice President. The board welcomes input from the public. This is the opportunity for community members to provide public comment to the board on agenda items or items not listed on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board should complete a speaker request card prior to the start of each meeting. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Public comment is limited to a total of 30 minutes. Comment cards can be submitted to the district office anytime after 9 a.m. the day of the board meeting and will be accepted at the start of the board meeting at 6. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another person. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to address the board from the podium, state their name, and adhere to time limits. The board may take any action or may not take any action or discuss any item not appearing on the posted agenda and cannot immediately respond to public comments. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because those comments are made at a public meeting. And our first speaker will be Don Artukovich.
Thank you, Madam President. So first of all, I wanted to say to the experienced board members, Chris, Marlis, and Diana, thank you so much for what you've done in the last couple of years, 4, 6, 8, to keep our school district strong. It's really important, and I appreciate what you've done. But I really want to speak to the 2 new board members, Matt and Farnaz. First of all, thank you for being brave enough to run for the school board. It is an awesome and overwhelming task, the running for a school board. It's expensive, it takes time, it's very difficult, and I appreciate both of you that you ran, that you put your time, your money, and your energy into this so that we can have a continued strong school board. I also wanted to let you know that being on the board is spectacular and exhausting. And it can be difficult because at times people are going to, or maybe not, maybe you'll be lucky, but there are times when people will be critical of what you do and say and how you act, and you have to just be brave and strong and let that all get through you and not bother you. And I just want to thank you so much, because you two are added to these 3 wonderful people are going to keep our district strong, financially strong, and I should have written this all down so I'd know what I'm saying. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you again and tell you how much I appreciate you. So thank you. I wanted everybody here to hear this, but oh well.
Thank you. Thank you. Our next speaker will be Drew Sells.
Hello, I am honored to have been asked to come here by our president of the Los Alamitos Education Association, and I think you probably know why I was the one who was asked to come. So on a professional note, I wanted to just say thank you very much for running. We are honored to have you. We want to congratulate you from just from the efforts that you put in, the way in which you both ran your campaigns, the way in which you chose to engage the community, answer everyone's questions, show up to everything from faculty forum multiple times to what else? All of the Rotary Club, the Dems Club, the Republicans Club, every single club you guys could possibly hit, Leisure World. You guys were at everything that anyone asked you to be at, and I think it's exactly how the union would like to have you guys represent us, by being able to take in all of the information that you need to take in and make the best decisions. The other thing, and on a personal note, I think you know why I'm the one who was asked. I am very honored to have been part of your campaigns. I'm very honored to have gotten to be the one who gets to interview in my capacity as the LAEA Political Action Committee treasurer. I get to be the first one who interviews potential candidates, and it was immediately clear that you guys were going to be excellent candidates, and I'm honored to have put my boots on the ground with you. The way you guys approach each of the public was really inspiring. I didn't ever see you guys hesitate to speak your minds, be truthful with everyone who came to the door, put your own time, money, energy into the process. The way in which you guys approach the teachers, you were willing to come. I know Farnaz, you were in a kind of a pickle. Your son was sick one of the days that you came to school. I was fortunate enough to get to know your little boy and spend some time doing some math and some English homework that I'm still not sure I got 100% on. So I just, on a personal note and a professional note, I wanted to say thank you very much for being willing to run. I wanted to be able to thank your family for being willing to let you run, because I know it's such a big obligation and you're going to be taken away from them quite a bit. But congratulations. It was a pretty long, hard, started in February first. You, Matt, maybe? I think I asked you to slow down a little bit. You were really ready to jump the gun, and that was awesome. And I love the excitement, and I'm really proud to be part of this district and have helped you guys get there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Drew. Okay, now we are going to move on to consent items. We are going to pull 12A. So do I have a motion to approve 12B through 12 a.m.? Hopefully not the time. Do I have a second? Okay, second. Okay. Do I have any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes carry 5-0. Thank you. So now we're going to go to 12A. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion that we approve the unofficial minutes.
Do I have a motion or a second? Would you care to discuss that, Mrs. Hill?
I would. We pulled that item because our two newest board members were not in their positions at that time when we had meeting minutes, and so it doesn't seem to be appropriate to have them vote on them. So I'd like to vote on them. Wanted to take them out of the consent calendar. The consent calendar is routine things. That's why we take them all together. And so at this moment in time, the minutes are not routine. So we pulled them out.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The ayes carry 5.
Do we have to abstain?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll abstain.
Abstain, okay.
I will also abstain.
Okay, so it carries 3 no's.
3-0 and 2 abstentions.
Okay,
Yes.
3-0-2. Thank you.
Perfect.
Sounds like a soccer score. Okay, so I made a mistake and slipped past a very important presentation from Mrs. Reed.
Thank you so much, President Davidson. Tonight, I'm bringing forward a list of core and supplemental materials that we use inside grades 3 through 12 to support the teaching of literacy and language study. And so none of these novels nor text, this is their first time coming to a board meeting. They've all previously come to a board meeting, but I'm bringing them forward so that we have clear and concise records for every single one of these artifacts that we have. As a unified school district, we were previously part of multiple other school districts. So some of our classics, for example, that are taught at the high school, To Kill a Mockingbird, came over with Anaheim Union. And so it's not easy for us to get records prior to digitization of when some of these artifacts were brought forward. So to be really transparent and have it an ease and efficiency of knowing when all of these novels and short stories have been brought forward. We're bringing them forward as one total list in grades 3 through 12 and putting them through the regular process. They're sitting on Ed Services for community display for the next 30 days. They're all available inside the district office should anyone want to see them, and we'll bring them forward, not at the next board meeting because we're a couple days shy of the 30 days that we traditionally put text and literature on display for the public, but they'll be coming forward to of the board meeting after the next for the board to take action. So it's really just about wanting to have an easy way to look at our records and to make sure that we have accurate records for everything that we're currently teaching in our classrooms. Part of Ed Code calls us to make sure all of our items are board approved. And so sometimes we get questions. The process of going back to something that was approved in another school district before we merged is very time consuming. And so really want to make sure that we have accurate records and that we're being very transparent with the materials that we use inside of our classrooms.
I'd just like to add to that, that as a teacher, I made a mistake. The high school decided not to use Tale of Two Cities, so we took it in 8th grade at McAuliffe, and I figured since it had been approved, everything was fine. And then about 2 months into it, I was called into the office and told that I'd made a big mistake, that it hadn't been approved for 8th grade levels. So I think it's important for the community to understand that we are very careful about what's being read in the classrooms and that the board is engaged in that work as well. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And just to be clear, that's item 11A because we went slightly out of order.
Okay, yeah.
But we have now approved all of our consent items and item number 12, so we'll move on to item 13.
Okay, that was my big goof for the night. I don't really believe that's true. Now we're moving on to action items. Our first action item under 13 is the second reading and approval of revised board policy 1312.3, uniform complaint procedures. Dr. Weiswright, would you like to address that?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Tonight we're bringing forward a second reading of Board Policy 1312.3 on UCPs. That's been updated in accordance to CSBA's recommendations. A couple of changes are it's increased the number of days that you may appeal a district's decision from 15 days to 30 days. It's changed a couple of verbiage, and it's really separated what's considered a UCP and what's considered a Title IX complaint.
So we're voting on this one, right? Yeah. We're voting on this one, right?
Yes, you are, sorry.
Okay, second reading, okay. Do I have a motion for approval? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
Would you mind, Dr. Reese-Wright, just explaining a little bit more about what a uniform complaint procedure is?
Yes, no problem. So if a member of the public or an employee or anybody wants to file a complaint against any part of the district, and it falls under any type of discrimination, harassment, or a protected class, that's considered a uniform complaint. And so we have a special form for that. They fill it out. They indicate what area they feel there may have been discriminated against or wrongfully treated, and then we investigate it specifically as a uniform complaint.
Thank you very
Got
much.
it.
Anybody else? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. We're now moving on to B, presentation and approval of the 2024-2025 first interim report, 2024-2025 revised budget and certification of financial conditions. And this is, I'm sorry, Schnur. I'm so sorry, Elvia. Thank you.
Well, good evening, esteemed board members. I'm honored to be here today to present our 24-25 first interim report and budget update. First and foremost, welcome to our new elected board members. I'm really excited and eager to work with each and every one of you so I can dive deep into what the budget looks like and what our department does. So I'm really looking forward to it. And usually my presentations do clear up the room, so thank you very much for sticking around. So first and foremost, I'd like to go over our annual budget cycle. We start off the year obviously in July. That's when our school starts and our fiscal year begins in July. In July and August, we start closing the fiscal year, the previous fiscal year. In September, we bring forward to the board our unaudited actuals, which is the results of the previous year, the year that we were closing. And we bring forward to the board a presentation, which is called our unaudited actuals, and any revisions to our adopted budget, we bring forward that in September. Then in December, and this is where we are right now, our first interim report and financial conditions, and this is data as of October 31st. So then we move into January, which is our the governor's budget proposals. We'll take those numbers into consideration, and we revise our budget. Then we go into March, which is our second interim report, which is data as of January 31st. Then in April, we'll begin to look at our LCAP and our budget development. Obviously, we'll use our January data from the governor's budget to start working on the budget development. Then the governor has an opportunity to revise its budget, its January budget in May. Then we'll use that data to finalize and adopt our budget in June. So obviously this budget cycle continues every year. The areas that have a little star will require board approval. So those are the reports that I'll be coming forward for approval and presentation. But I just wanted to make sure that the board knew what our budget cycle looks like as we go forward. So what is our first interim? Obviously, our first interim is includes actual revenues and expenditures as of October 31st, with revised projections for the remainder of the year. So we'll look at all of our total revenues that we've received as of October 31st, and then we'll project out. Obviously, our budget is as of that particular moment in time, and it changes pretty much daily. Each school year is required by statute to certify its financial conditions 2 times a year, and that's where we bring our first interim and our second interim report. And the board does have to certify that the district has the ability to meet its financial obligations for the current year and 2 years. So in this particular moment in time, we're looking at 24-25, 25-26, and 26-27 fiscal years. When we develop the budget and we bring forward these interim reports, we have to look at budget planning assumptions. And these assumptions are provided to us from different organizations like School Services of California, California Association of School Business Officials, CDE, and of course, County Office of Education provides that guidance. One of the most important components of developing the budget is looking at the cost of living adjustment. That's statutory COLA. A lot of times the COLA is not really what we're funded at. So sometimes you'll hear statutory COLA, sometimes you'll hear funded COLA. When it's a funded COLA, that means that the governor has decided not to fund us based on statutory COLA. In this particular assumption, we're using COLA, which is statutory COLA, because the governor is funding statutory COLA. For 24-25, 1.07 is our statutory COLA. For 25-26 is 2.93 and 3.07. Obviously, when the governor proposes his January budget, those COLA numbers could actually change. Not sure if you've received any of the CSBA newsletters, but the legislature has kind of indicated that most potentially we might have a reduction in the 25-26 COLA, but we don't know that for sure. But we have to, keep that in mind that it could potentially go less than 2.93%. We also use STRS, the Cal STRS, which is the state teachers retirement system that we have to account for. And it has, luckily for the next 3 years, we're anticipating it to be flat, but it had been increasing the last few years. It started off maybe in 14, 15, we were probably 8%. We're up to like 19.10%. That's a huge increase every year, but luckily their board has maintained that for the next 3 years. But like I've said before, that number could actually change. PERS, which is Public Employees Retirement System. This is for all of our classified employees. We also have to pay that rate of $27.05, and it has been increasing. The assumptions that you see on the screen right now, if they're in red, that means that they've changed from adopted budget. So when you adopted the budget, now this is our first interim, there's changes to those assumptions. When I present in March, our second interim, if there's any changes to these assumptions, they will be changed in a different color. So you know what has changed. Our SUI, which is our state unemployment insurance, has remained the same.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
So it is obvious to me looking at this that everything seems to have changed for the negative. Is that correct?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
No, correct. It just means, yes, it just means a change from our previous adoption. So,
Okay.
for example, our CalPERS rate used to be, when we adopted the budget, it was 25-26 was 27.60. It went down to 27.4. For 26-27, we were anticipating that rate to be 28%. It went down to 27.5%.
Yay.
So yeah, that is definitely good news. It went down slightly.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Enrollment projections, health and welfare benefits. We always assume an 11% increase. There's years that we may see a lower rate, but the last few years we've seen 11, 10%, 13%. So it's hard to tell because based on our health and welfare, we're self-funded, so we pay based on actual claims. So some years it could be really good, some years it could be really bad. So for now, we're just sticking to that 11% increase every year. On our enrollment projections, at adopted budget, we were anticipating a reduction in enrollment of 227 students for first interim. Once we finalize CalPADS and finalized our enrollment, we are actually down 185 students, which is better than what we anticipated. Unfortunately, once we plugged in all of our number of students enrolled in each grade level, we used a rollover formulas, and so first graders become second graders and so on and so forth. We did see a decline in the 25-26 as far as our assumptions. So for 25-26, we're anticipating 192 less students. Of course, we always assume the worst, but we're hopeful that maybe that number doesn't quite equate to 192. And then for 26-27, we're anticipating 188 less students. So as you can see, we are still experiencing that decline in enrollment, which every district in California is experiencing as well. When it comes to our projected P2 ADA, as you recall, we are not funded based on number of students that actually are enrolled, but actually who attends school, who are actually physically attending class. So that's average daily attendance. That's what ADA stands for. And P2 is period 2. We are funded based on period 2, which is, we get the opportunity to report to the state twice a year. One is P1, which is period 1, and P2, period 2. Period 1 is due early January, and P2 is due in March, middle of March, and that's where we're funded at. Since we don't have P2 data right now, we're using prior year 23-24 P2 ADA. And so, of course, these are still just projections based on enrollment. So our rate of attendance for last year for 23-24 was 95.92%. As you recall, prior to COVID, we were always 97, 98%. We were really high up there as far as our attendance rates. After COVID, that attendance rate kind of came down to like 95, where I've seen a slight increase in our rate of attendance, but it hasn't really reached that same level that we were prior to COVID. We use that same number going forward. Once we finalize P1 in January, when we present P2, we will be using the most accurate data, which is our P1 number. So hopefully that 95.92 will be better than it was in 23-24. Unfortunately, we are funded based on the 3-year average, not that P2 number that I present there. It's the 3-year average. So we have seen that changing that formula that the state has provided school districts to use has benefited us. But due to the declining enrollment and due to the decline in attendance, that average ADA continues to decline as well. And then our unduplicated pupil percentage, UPP, that is what we use for calculation of the supplemental funds. So that's part of our LCFF calculation. And the supplemental funds are used to present our LCAP. So the funds that our unduplicated pupil students generate is our supplemental funds. There's 3 different groups of individual or students that make up the unduplicated pupil percentage. Those are our free and reduced students, foster youth, and EL students, which means they cannot be counted twice. They either be counted as unduplicated or regular or foster youth, one of the two. But the state does provide us supplemental funds, but those supplemental funds have to be geared specifically to continue to support those students that generate the supplemental funds. And then our projected LCFF entitlement, this is how much we anticipate receiving specifically from LCFF for those three years, 11,728 per student, and in 26-27, 12,472 per student. All right, so I'm going to go over our enrollment, actual P2 ADA and funded ADA, so we get a better understanding of how it's been declining over the years. So in 18-19, our enrollment was 9,730. And as you can see in 24-25, we started gradually declining, and we are at 8,744 as of October CalPADS data. As you can see, that's pretty much 1,000 less students. That's significant. And we continue to experience that decline going forward. Like I mentioned earlier, we hope that that doesn't quite equate to the number that we're anticipating, but so far it just seems, we just see a small increase between 22 and 23. We kind of thought we were gonna kind of level out, but we didn't. In 24-25, we did see that decline of 185 students. So then when we look at an actual P2 ADA, which is the rate of attendance, as you can see, this is where we've been. In 2021, that was during COVID, the state allowed us to do that, hold harmless. Therefore, because we didn't take attendance in 2021, we used the same number for 19-20. So that's why you see that P2 ADA being higher than our enrollment, is because we used the same number of the previous year. And as you can see, for 26-27, we anticipate that P2 ADA is going to go down to 8,021. But since we are funded based on the 3-year average, if you compare even 24-25, our P2 ADA is 8,387, but our funded is 8,648, which is much higher than our actual P2 ADA. So that does, having the 3-year average is actually helping us, and we anticipate it to continue to assist us as our enrollment continues to decline. All right, moving forward. During first interim, what we do is provide the board what changed as far as revenues, ending fund balance, expenditures from adopted budget to first interim. We have to be able to explain to you what those variances are. So for example, in this particular slide, our beginning fund balance that we brought forward from 23-24 at adopted budget, we were anticipating that to be a little over $8 million. Now at first interim, because we finalized closing the books, we're at $11.3 million. There was an increase in our ending fund balance of a little over $3 million, and that's when I presented our unaudited actuals, and I said, hey, we have a little bit more. We usually don't spend every dollar we say we're going to spend. There's usually about 1.5% to 2%, because there's quite a bit of expenditures that the sites don't actually spend throughout the year, or there is expenditures that we anticipate we're going to spend at the end of June 30th, but that didn't quite happen. So it may occur in the following year, maybe July or August. So we have to bring forward those potential expenditures. Overall, our total revenues, which includes LCFF, federal, state, and local, for the unrestricted general fund. So when I speak about general fund, I'm talking about 2 different components: unrestricted general fund and restricted. This is just unrestricted general fund, which the bulk of it is LCFF revenues. We did have an increase. We are anticipating an increase in revenues from unrestricted general fund, about $520,000. That's primarily an increase in impact aid, also an increase in our projected lottery revenues, and then we did see an increase in our unrestricted donation funds. And then contribution to restricted programs. Every the general fund must, by statute, put aside or contribute to the restricted programs 3% of the general fund expenditures for routine restricted maintenance. Routine restricted maintenance is making sure that we maintain all of our facilities. So 3% has to be put in that category of routine restricted maintenance. Also, another contribution to restricted programs is our special ed. As you know, special education is not fully funded from the state or the federal government. They don't provide nearly close enough. The general fund probably contributes more than half of the total expenditures of special education. It's unfortunate. This is happening, same thing all over California, where every district is really contributing a lot to special education. Their population is increasing, their needs are increasing, but the funding is still remaining the same. They did provide COLA funding for the AB 602, which is the state portion of special education. So it's $235,000 that we anticipate will come in for special education from the state level. Therefore, I'm decreasing our contribution to special education from the unrestricted general fund. Of course, once we get final numbers, that contribution may increase or even decrease further. At this point, this is the best we can do as far as projecting special education expenditures. Yes, Mrs. Davidson.
So I'm just curious, as far as special education and legislation on what we're mandated to do, does most of our funding come from the federal level or the state level?
Definitely from the state. The federal, let's say our total special education expenditures are over $20 million. The federal government will give us maybe $1.3 million. And maybe $8 million might come from the state, and then the rest comes from the general fund.
Do we get mandated laws for programs from the federal government?
Mandated block money?
Well, no. Are there programs we're required to implement for special education at a federal level, and yet they're not funding them? I'm just curious.
Yeah, absolutely. There is quite a few. I don't know exactly which ones they are, but yeah, definitely there are a lot of IDEA programs that we have to get.
They don't get
we don't get a whole lot of funding.
IDEA is a federal law.
Yes.
And so that is the federal government, when it passed it, had pledged funding almost up to 40% of it, but it's still 13 cents, maybe 20 cents on the dollar.
And state similar.
And then in the state. So really, it's every district, it's coming out of your general fund as well, taking a large portion of that to serve the needs of our diverse students.
Thank you. As far as our expenditures overall in the unrestricted general fund, we anticipated over $103 million. We're anticipating for first interim 104, almost 105 million, a variance of 1.5. The bulk of that variance is when we adopted the budget, based on lower enrollment, we anticipated 12 less FTEs in our staffing projections. When we finalize all of our staffing, it only ended up being 7.8 FTEs less. So we have to account for those additional FTEs. As well as summer school, we didn't account for some additional expenditures for summer school, so we have to adjust the budget by $1.5 million. Overall, our ending fund balance in the unrestricted general fund is up by $2.2 million, but the bulk of it comes really from our increase in ending fund balance from the previous year. From the restricted side in the general fund, these are what you call categorical programs. If you've heard the phrase categorical programs, grants, entitlements, these are restricted programs that are used specifically for a specific purpose. This is where we will account for like special education, state funding or federal funding, as well as Prop 28, one-time funds like the Arts Music Block Grant. This is where we would account for those. But those are specific for those purposes, and they may be for 2 or 3 years. So it's one-time monies or specific, like I said, for 2 or 3 years. And that's the reason why you would see a restricted ending fund balance, because we may not or assume we're going to spend those funds in this particular year, so we have to maintain them in the fund balance because they're for 2 or 3 years. There were some changes in those balances. For example, revenues, we increased by $1.6 million. This is to account for Prop 28 that we didn't spend in 23-24. We carried it over into 24-25 as well. CalShape funds, we didn't spend them last year, but we actually already spent them in July, so we have to account for those expenditures. As well as when we receive donations, we don't account for them until we actually physically receive the donation, so we have to adjust the budget accordingly. And then here's a contribution from unrestricted, which is our special ed. As you can see, that's a negative because we're reducing the contribution to special education from the unrestricted side. And to overall total expenditures is an increase of 2.9, mainly due to those additional revenues that I mentioned earlier, like Prop 28, CalShape. We have to account for those expenditures. Overall, the restricted ending fund balance went up by $728,000. So here's our multi-year projection. Every time I present a interim report or adopted budget, we have to have a multi-year projection. And this year I decided to provide a little bit more detail. So the previous slide had like overall revenues, right? It had LCFF, state and federal revenues. Here is a little bit more of a breakdown of what those dollars look like. The top portion, which is in green, is our unrestricted general fund revenues that we are projecting for 24-25, 25-26, and 26-27. Our LCFF is $103 million, $104 million, and $106 each for those specific years. Our federal revenue is $3.5 million. That's our impact aid money. That's strictly all impact aid money. That increased about $100,000. We're assuming we're very confident that we have been receiving for the last few years an increase. As you recall, last year I think we received maybe $600,000. The bulk of it we put it in Fund 40 to help support the facility projects that we have going on. Because really the funds that we receive from impact aid is due to the impact of those federal lands in our district. So that is a very good use of those funds, is to support some of the construction projects that we need to do for our schools.
Would you just expand a little bit on the impact aid money, why we get that money and where that is?
Absolutely. So we have two pretty large lands, right? The the Army Joint Forces training base, as well as the Seal Beach weapon station. Those are impacted lands. The federal government owns those lands, and it occupies pretty much 40% of our district boundaries. If we were to be able to build in those lands, we would be able to generate, maybe $100 million in property taxes. This is what the government is saying, I'm sorry you can't generate property taxes, but we're willing to give you this for the impact, and it's only $3.5 million. So every year I go to Washington, because we still have to continue to advocate, because it has to be part of the federal budget. So there's been years where they want to pull it out of the federal budget, and we're part of a coalition per se that's called Impact Aid, and we really advocate every year to make sure that it stays in the federal budget and it doesn't get cut. So it's very important. 3.4 million. It's not enough, but it is something that we have to continue to fight every year.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other state revenues, 2.8, that's pretty much lottery, mandated block grants that are on the unrestricted side. And then local revenues, what we account here is interest, some donations. The bulk of our donations that come from the community and from our parents are in the restricted side. In the local revenue, we could account for the use of our facilities. There's multiple areas for local revenue. And then, of course, our routine restricted maintenance and special education contribution, $13.5 million. And then transfers in $2.7 million. Every year, we bring we transfer into the unrestricted general fund from our EDCC, Extended Daycare Program. We transfer $1 million. We also bring in $925,000 from our OPEB investment to pay for those retirees that are that we pay for their health and welfare benefits, the pay-as-you-go plan. And then this year for 24-25, we are contributing $750,000 from Fund 17. And then, of course, our restricted, here's our federal programs, our state revenue. I don't want to go into every single one of them, but this is what we're projecting for the restricted side. So that's our total revenue, and here is our total expenditures broken down by certificated salaries, classified salaries, employment benefits, books and supplies, and so on and so forth. For each one of those categories, at least you know exactly how much is allocated to each one of those categories.
And I just want to be clear about Fund 17. It's our rainy day fund.
Correct.
So we're taking money out of our rainy day fund to make our budget.
That is correct. It was included at our adopted budget for 24-25. So moving on, at the end of the day, this is what really matters to the state is, are we able to meet our 3% reserve in the current and the 2 subsequent years, based on what we're projecting as far as ending fund balances, revenues, and expenditures. From the previous slide, if you looked at our total revenues, you looked at our total expenditures, we are actually deficit spending $4.5 million. That's the negative that you see in red. Now, this one is a negative.
Oh, joy.
I know. $4.5 million in 24-25, bringing down our total ending fund balance of $6.8 million. We have to put aside $165,000 for stores and revolving cash, bringing our total percentage of 4.68%. So Fund 17, we have a reserve, which is kind of like you mentioned, Mrs. Seal, is a rainy day fund. We've had that reserve for a very long time. We haven't tapped into it since I've been here. So, and it had been there specifically because of declining enrollment, or because for those particular reasons that sometimes things do happen, right? We lose a drastic amount of students or unforeseen conditions. Overall, when we combine our unrestricted general fund, ending fund balance, and Fund 17, which is an additional layer of reserves, we're at $12.2 million, overall at 8.52%. Keep in mind, 3% or even 7% is really not an adequate number of reserves to have, because what we really should have is at least 1 month's worth, or 2, I would say, and it would probably equate to more like a 15 or 16% reserve in order for me to be very comfortable and be able to sleep at night. So unfortunately, this is where we are, primarily because of the lower COLA and our declining enrollment. It's making our reserve levels be a little bit more uncomfortable than what we would like them to be. And that's the reason why for 25-26, we are anticipating to make some reductions and be very strategic in how we reduce some of these expenditures. So the OCDE, our Orange County Department of Education, is going to require for this year, for first interim, for the board to, first interim, but for second interim, you're absolutely there. So right now, they are requiring that I communicate to you, the board, and to make sure that we understand that as a school district, we have to make sure that we maintain fiscal solvency in the current year and the next 2. So they're going to want us to do this fiscal solvency statement by second interim. So that's the reason why we're having look at what kind of potential reductions we're going to have, and I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. But this statement is going to be required going forward. And obviously, I don't have a dollar amount because these numbers are going to change. We're going to have to, yes.
Could you just go back to the slide just previous to this one? I just want to make sure I understand.
Sure.
So the where it's in red, the 4 million and then down to 609,000 in 26-27. Why is it that there's so much less of a decrease then? Or is it because of what we're going to have to do?
Absolutely. You are absolutely correct. I didn't Good question. And when Dr. Pulver and I talked about this during our review, and he pointed it out, absolutely, that's $4.5 million is our deficit spending. So once we implement our reduction, we're still going to have, and you were right, you said 1.4 and I said 1.6, and you were absolutely on the dot. For 25, our deficit spending is now $1.4 million or 1.5. Because our reductions that we're going to talk about are going to be ongoing, right, are already embedded in there. I'm already accounting for. So we're going to have to somehow or another identify those areas where we're going to have to make some reductions. And then, of course, it also includes potential COLA. So for 26-27, our projected COLA is a little bit higher than what we're anticipating and what we received in 24-25 or 25-26. It's a 3.883. So obviously it's a little higher. So we're accounting for that increase in COLA, which will help the deficit spending. Great question. I appreciate that. So obviously this statement is going to be included, and the board's going to have to take action when I bring forward our second interim, that we're going to have to come up with some anticipated budget reductions to maintain fiscal solvency. So this is a budget reduction plan that I have embedded in our projections for 25-26. Our workers' comp rate, anticipating a reduction there because we have been very mindful on how we monitor and maintain our staff free of workers' comp expenditures. So our rate has decreased from 2.3 to 1.83%. So I'm anticipating a $325,000 savings there. We are going to have to be very mindful about our supplies and contracted services, as well as our technology. We've always contributed $1 million to technology needs. We're going to cut that down half, as well as our deferred maintenance contribution has always been $1 million. We're going to reduce that to $750,000. And then we're going to have to look at management staffing salary reductions, so $300,000. But when we add the statutory benefits, which is STRS, USD, MEDI, SUI, and workers' comp, is $367,000. And then for classified reductions, it's $600,000. Same thing once we add statutory benefits. This is a little higher because CalPERS, the rate is much higher than CalSTRS. And for certificated staffing, we're anticipating 7 less FTEs, and that's primarily due to the reduction of students that we anticipate, 182 for 25-26. We anticipate to have a 7 less FTEs, and then with statutory benefits, it's $1 million. And then also for 25-26, we anticipate to bring also from our Fund 17 $450,000, and that will keep us in that 3%.
And I just want to share a few things. So the last few budget presentations we've presented, even back to the budget presented in June, we actually, even though the county is going to be requiring this fiscal solvency statement, we've actually been including a budget reduction plan of how we're going to achieve this in our last 3 budget presentations. We've been sharing it with staff. We've shared it at operations steering. The numbers have changed a little bit as the new assumptions come into play. But we have been, in fact, we sent a communication to all of our families, I want to say in the spring of last year, about the budget deficit that we would be in and some of the staffing reductions we may have to. We said we were going to be fine for 24-25. So we really have forecasted this to our community well, but that we would have to make some difficult decisions and staffing reductions in the 25-26 and the 26-27 school year. So I just want to remind you that these have been in the last budget projections, and we've had an ongoing plan, but the numbers now reflect the new numbers as they are.
That's correct. Yes.
Just a quick question. Is it possible to see what the current numbers are? And because I know you're showing us the reduction, but I'd like to see what they are and what they're being reduced from. Is it possible to kind of see that side by side?
Oh, absolutely. I could maybe provide that during a weekend review. Is that something? Because right now, if you were to look at, like, let's say,
In some ways, the slide earlier where she had
Yeah.
all the revenues that was in green, it said certificated salaries, 50,671, 50,171,413. That now needs to be reduced by, what was the 7 FTE amount?
1 million, a little over $1 million. So
1.6 million. The classified in 25-26, which is currently 13 million, almost 14 million,
Right.
13.9, needs to be reduced by about 700,000 plus the statutory benefits.
right.
Is that kind of what
exactly.
you're asking?
Yes, yes, and in addition to the technology that's being decreased, I'd like to understand what that is and
Yep.
what it's being decreased from, the workers' comp, what the current one is. It would just be helpful.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, and that makes it a little bit challenging when you look at classified. Like, let's say we look at certificated salaries right here, 50,671. The following year, I have 50,170. You're looking at those two comparison and thinking, well, where's the $1 million? Unfortunately, it doesn't quite equate that way because we also have to add step and column. So even though I'm reducing it by 1 million, I also have to add step and column. So it doesn't quite equate. So it's going to be very difficult, but I could definitely provide you in more detail the dollar amount that it was, what is increasing and what is decreasing to bring it to that net dollar amount.
Okay.
Because all of them have step and column as well. Certificated salaries, I may reduce it by 7 FTEs, but then I still have to add step and column for both certificated and classified.
I see. Okay.
And then the good news with the technology, we've actually reduced our technology already this year in the budget from $1 million to 500,000. It's something that we think is sustainable for the next 3 years because of the early investments we have done intentionally when there was different funding, and we invested in a lot of those pieces of equipment, your servers, your wireless access points, et cetera. We replaced all of those as we were doing the million. And so those now have a life of 6, 7, 5 years. They vary on that. So we don't really believe that we're going to feel the impact of the loss of technology. We will still be doing a one-to-one device program at Los Alamitos High School. We're going to be cycling down when our seniors graduate from us, those Chromebooks down to the middle schools to increase the number of Chromebooks and one-to-one devices at the middle school and potentially in the out years down to elementary. So we don't think, we think that reduction of $500,000 in technology is sustainable for at least 2 years. At some point, the long-term devices that have a life a little bit longer are going to need to be replaced again. It's your big servers, it's your data backups, your battery backups, et cetera, which we've been fortunate. We've invested heavily the last few years, and we feel confident that we can do that without much of an impact. But it can't be sustainable long-term either. So we do know as revenues come back, that is an area we're going to have to advocate for, because sometimes we always want to bring it back to positions or to salary, but we have to say in a couple of years, hey, no, we lowered this. We're going to need to come back as money comes in to increase some of that as well. With our routine restricted maintenance and deferred maintenance, we also feel confident that where we reduce that, we'll be able to reduce some of the deferred maintenance programs because of all the modernization and other projects that we've been able to do. But we still have our ongoing commitment to do the life cycle every 10 years of resealing our roofs, our asphalts, and our slurries, which were those big ticket items, because that was our pledge to the community. Hey, you tax yourselves for a second or third time. We got to maintain our buildings and our facilities. So we think we can do that for a few years as well, but not ongoingly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions. So what's coming up next in January? Like I mentioned earlier, the governor will provide its state budget for 25-26. By January, we will know what our supplemental early retirement incentive results will look like. So that'll help us better plan for the reductions. And then in March, that's when I will be bringing forward our second interim report, which will incorporate any budget changes from the governor's proposals. And if we're deficit spending, which we will have to adopt a fiscal solvency statement and our budget reduction plan. I believe they'll want a little bit more detail than just the items that I presented. I think they're going to want, I don't know exactly how it's going to look like, but I think they're going to want a little bit more detail. And then, of course, approval of the potential layoff resolution by March 15th. We have to have that in place, so those will go hand in hand. So at this time, I would like to ask the board to approve the first interim and certify the financial conditions of the district so we can provide that to the office, this Department of, Orange County Department of Education. And with that, if there are any other questions.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to approve the first interim report and the 2024-2025 revised budget and certification of financial condition.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Motion passed 5-0. And now we move on to approval of architectural services agreement with Rachland Racklin Partners, Huckabee and Associates for the renovation of the Performing Arts Center at Los Alamitos High School. Very exciting. So Elvia.
Thank you, Madam
Back
President. Thank you, Madam President. So as we're getting ready for our next big project, which is the Performing Arts Center, currently that project is anticipated to be anywhere between $10 and $12 million. The first phase of that project is bringing forward the architectural services, which is Racklin doing business as Huckabee. Obviously, we need those architectural designs and construction documents to be able to provide that to the Department of Architects, or DSA, for us to be able to make sure we meet all the construction codes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval?
If I may add,
Okay.
I just want to be clear that while it is the PAC, we're talking really about modernizing and renovating. This is not a tear down and building a new PAC. That would be $50+ million. We originally thought we had $5 million for the PAC. We've been able to stretch that to $8 million, and with some of the other matching funds and not spending all of our dollars on other projects, we now believe we can budget up to $12 million. So remember, from 5 to 12, that's pretty robust. Early on, when the 4 years ago, we weren't sure how much we left over. We had to be able to do the PAC, but it's not a brand new PAC. I just want to make sure we make that clear.
That's good news.
May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Since we talked a lot earlier about having a thriving arts program, and this might have been discussed in the previous board meeting, but during the time in which the renovation is happening, what will happen to the space, or where will performances happen during that time? Or what's the timeline?
Good question.
It's definitely going to have to be phased in, and to make sure that we don't disrupt the school. So originally we were planning to do most of the work during the summer. And if it bleeds into the year, most likely we'll have to stop and continue the work. But it'll definitely be phased in, so it won't be disrupting the programs that are being held at the PAC.
But we will have a full contingency plan, just like with all of our fields. As we shared with our community, a lot of our fields may not be available to the public. When we were doing construction for our gym, we're having to currently, as our gymnasium is under construction, we're having to rent space with Ames and other facilities. So we may have to do that. McGaw auditorium, we have our multi-purpose rooms at McAuliffe and at Oak, but we're also not tearing down a complete building. So we were able to do the stage at the high school last summer. So we have been doing some projects already. A lot of it is audio visual, which we can still do and do the performances. Restrooms and new seating, things of that sort. Those are the bigger ticket items but we think also the restrooms, we probably are going to have to do on the outside of the PAC and not within the PAC. So that may not actually shut down performances in the PAC. But part of that is all the work that the architects are going to have to do to help us brainstorm and navigate through this phasing plan of sorts. And certainly, as you know, we'll partner, and we have along the way, with our user groups of the Performing Arts Center.
Thank you both for the clarification.
Anybody else? Did I already get a motion? Or? Oh,
You got a motion
and a second. Okay. No other discussion? No, I didn't think so. Okay. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I can make a motion.
Okay.
I,
Oh, you just have to say.
yes, I will make a motion of approval of the architectural services agreement with, do I need to say the whole?
No.
No, okay.
Okay. Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. Okay, now we're moving on to approval of warrants. And as we often share, the warrants are the bills that we pay. And as Diana has pointed out, because she's very diligent about checking these warrants, there's often 46 pages with probably 100 on each page. So we have the opportunity on Friday when we get the agenda to go through the warrants and ask any questions so that we understand what it is we're paying for. We're not just rubber stamping it. Do I have a motion for approval of the warrants? Second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
No, we asked questions and got answers, so thank you.
Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. The next one is acceptance of donations from our very generous community. These come from organizations, individuals, fundraising. So do I have a motion for approval? They're a total of $34,371.51 this month, with a total of $250,000 up to this point this year. So that's fabulous. I mean, that makes a huge difference in our programs. Do I have a motion for approval?
I will move to accept the donations.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. And now we move on to our certified personnel report and our classified personnel report. Dr. Weiswright?
Thank you, Madam President. Yep, tonight we're bringing forward the personnel reports that reflect the changes since our last board meeting. We recommend approval as submitted.
Do I have a motion for approval?
I so move.
Do I have a second? Is there a discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. Now we're on to approval of a memorandum of understanding agreement 10006313 with the Orange County Department of Education for the Teacher Induction Program. Dr. Weiswright?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Tonight, we're bringing forward an MOU with OCDE for our teacher induction program. That's what onboards all of our new teachers for clearing their credentials. And we bring this forward annually. We recommend approval as submitted.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval?
I will move the MOU with OCD.
Is there discussion? This is our BITSA program, right? And I mean, I went through that many years ago, so I'm glad to see it's still a strong program. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The motion carries 5-0. Now we are moving on to an organizational meeting continued with looking at the assignments that we as board members are willing to take for the.
No, we missed the approval.
Oh,
rate of
oops.
increase.
I guess we're not going to have any substitute positions
Yeah.
in classified services. Sorry, Dr. Weiswright. Okay, so we need this for Dr. Weiswright. We need approval of rate increases for substitute positions in classified service. Very important. I apologize.
No problem. Thank you. Yes, as the minimum wage increases on January 1st to $16.50, we need to increase the rate for two of our positions, substitute for student supervision assistant, as well as our student worker position, so that they meet the minimum wage requirement.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say no. Motion carries 5-0. Now we'll move on to the organizational meeting, which will be an assignment of Board of Education committee positions. We have a list from of assignments and jobs that have been done in previous years. So we're going to go down here, and please, we can just speak up, right? I don't.
Yes, Madam President, what the attachment on the agenda for you for the board's consideration today is really the assignments that the board has had in the past and those who were assigned to them. And then during our organizational meeting, this portion of the meeting, it's really the board's decision to make decisions on, are they going to maintain that committee? And if so, then who should serve on that committee? Because the Board of Education does fall under the Brown Act, you can't typically have more than 2 board members present without violation of the Brown Act. So you'll have some subcommittees where you have 2 representatives on up to 2 representatives on a committee. So again, this will be the opportunity for the board to decide if they want to maintain a committee that is in current existence as of last year for the year moving forward, and then who to serve on those committees as the representatives for the board and their alternates for the 25 school year.
So then, as a point of clarification, if we decide not to have a committee, that can just be part of the ultimate decision at the end?
That can be,
Yes.
yep. So it might, because there's a number of them, it might be easiest to have the discussion one line by line and who will be the representative. And then Mrs. Dornblasser and myself will take notes and we can read it out before get a motion and a second once we have who those representatives are.
Perfect, thank you. So our first position is the Nominating County Committee on School District Organization Members. Mrs. Catuli had been the representative on that before. Do we find this, we believe that she may still hold that position, that you don't have to be on our
that is one
board.
that was, I believe, the representative or she actually might even come off of it as well. It's not always a direct person from, not every school board has a representative. It's the board votes on someone within the community. So we're going to verify that with the Orange County Department of Education because that's an OCDE committee. But I don't believe that is one that you will be able to change at this point.
So we'll just
we
set it
may wanna-
aside right now, okay? So Greater Anaheim Special Education Local Plan Area, the SELPA program. Mr. Forehand, you were the representative on that. Do you wish to keep that position? Does anyone else want to? Okay, is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Forehand will be the SELPA representative. I was the alternate, and I don't really think I ever was needed, so do we want to just?
I don't think you need an.
Okay, thank you.
I'll call one of you.
I think this is one where because it's an actual board, it might be hard to have an alternate. You'd have to get that alternate sworn in. Would they have all the background information from the previous meeting? It's just like when one of you can't attend a board meeting, if that ever occurs, you just don't show up. We can't get a replacement.
Pull somebody in, yeah.
So
okay.
there's 2 of those positions that they actually are boards that I think is a little bit different, and that's the SELPA and the ROP.
Okay, so Mr. Forehand will continue in that position, and we won't have an alternate. Operations Steering Committee, that was Diana and Scott Fayette, who's no longer on the board. And so we need 2 as representatives and then an alternate.
I'd like to stay on.
Okay, Diana's going to stay on.
And I'd be happy to join. I'm currently on that at McGaw, and so I will happily take that on and step off of it as a parent representative and move on as a board.
Perfect. And for an alternate?
I'm happy to be the alternate.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Thank you. So Matt and Diana will serve as the representatives, and Fernaz will serve as the alternate. The Los Alamitos City District Working Group, Diana and I have served on that, and Chris was the alternate. I would like to stay on it.
I would assume, and I think it makes sense that we are from Los Alamitos trustee areas. Our community is a little bit different than I think a lot of communities out there, being that we have 3 communities make up 1 school district. So I think it makes sense for us both to be on.
Okay. And so Chris was the alternate. Diana, do you think we need an alternate for it?
Yes.
Yeah,
I do
I think
think
so.
okay.
'Cause I think we should have 2.
Do you want to stay on as alternate? Okay, that's great. So for that district working group, it will be Diana, me, and then the alternate will be Chris. Moving on to the Seal Beach City District Working Group, Meg and Scott were both the representatives on that, so we need a fresh start. And it sort of makes sense that it would be Matt and Fernaz because it's Seal Beach and you are the representatives for that area. Is that good?
Happy to take it on.
Okay, great. And Diana, you're the alternate on that? Is that
I'm
all
good
right?
with that.
Okay, great. So North Orange County ROP, Meg was the representative on that. I want to check with everybody else, but I would really like that position. I went to their board meeting last week as an observer, and I'm really drawn to the work they're doing. Is anybody?
I think that's wonderful.
Okay, and we're not going to have an alternate on that because it's another one you have to be sworn in if you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so I'm the representative on that one. West Orange County Legislative Committee.
I'm just going to say that we have tried multiple times to engage with this group, and I don't know if it's defunct. I don't know if we never get the invitations. There's no consistency, and I served on it before. It's a great opportunity to network, but we are part of multiple chambers and a variety of other things. I don't really think it's necessary to have on here.
I served on it too, and I would absolutely agree. I showed up at the meeting and it wasn't there. So
I don't think we've had representation much the last couple of years. So I don't really think it's been an active committee that this board has been able to engage in. So.
Okay, so we wish them the best, but we will take ourselves off of that.
Yep.
So for 2025, this committee will come off of a board assignment.
Correct.
For
Yes.
the organizational meeting. Okay.
The safety task force. That was Diana and I were on that. Matt, you expressed interest.
Yeah, I would love to participate in that if that is an opening.
I think it would be really nice to have a parent on it. I'd be
Yeah.
happy to do it, but
I'll take myself off. I'm good.
do you want to go as alternate?
And I'm fine going as alternate unless somebody else wants to be alternate.
Okay, so
I'll be alternate. That's
okay,
fine.
thank you, because you know the work of the committee too.
Yeah.
So Matt and I will be the representatives. Diana will serve as alternate. Okay, Dak and Delac. I've been on it, I just can't say it. So Meg and I were on the committee. I'm going to move to an alternate position.
I'm happy to be part of that, represent that committee.
Okay, Farnaz will do it, and Diana, did you want to?
I would like to.
Okay, great. So Farnaz and Diana will be the representatives. I'll serve as alternate. In the PTA council, Meg and Scott were both our representatives on the council. Chris has expressed an interest, and I'm interested, unless somebody would. Okay, so Chris and I will be the representatives. Farnaz, you and I had talked about kind of sharing it.
Yeah,
So
I can be your alternate.
okay, and that way we can kind of share if something, okay. So Farnaz is the alternate. RCSD working group, Chris, it makes sense. You live in Rossmore. Are you on it? You want to stay? Okay, great. Do you want to be the alternate for that?
Sure.
Okay. And I think
It's
that
part of my territory.
okay, good. I think that
Trustee
covers
areas as well.
the groups that we have. And so do we vote on this?
Yeah, I'll just summarize one more
thank you.
time. We're going to check on the nominating county committee, so we're going to take that off for now. The Greater Anaheim SELPA, it'll be Chris Forehand with no alternate. Operation Steering, it'll be Matt and Diana Hill, and alternate Farnaz. Los Alamos City Working Group, it'll be Marlis and Diana with Chris as the alternate. Seal Beach City District Working Group, it'll be Farnaz and Matt with Diana Hill as the alternate. North Orange County ROP, Marlis as the representative, no alternate moving forward for that position. West Orange County Legislative Committee will come off as a district board representative assignment moving forward. The Safety Task Force will have Marlis and Matt with Diana as the alternate. With the District Advisory and DLAC, it'll be Farnaz and Diana and Marlis as the alternate. PTA Council will be Chris and Marlis with Farnaz as the alternate. And RCSD Working Group, again, hasn't been as active lately, but should it become active, it would be Chris and then Diana as the alternate.
Perfect. Do I hear a motion for approval? I move approval. Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The motion carries 5-0. And at this point now, this meeting will be adjourned and we move into closed session. and we will report out after. It's what time? 8:35. Okay, we're closing at 8:35. Thank you. Have a happy holiday.